Cambridge IGCSE Biology 061023 May-June 2021. Question number 1. What is a characteristic of all living organisms? Option A. Breathing, which is wrong. All living organisms do not breathe. Option B. Circulation, which is also wrong. Option C. Egestion, which is also wrong. Option D. Sensitivity, which is correct. Question number 2. What is the most accurate method of classifying animals? Option A. Comparing bones, which is wrong. Option B. Comparing the morphology of organisms, which is also wrong. Option C. Identifying similarities in anatomy, which is also wrong. Option D. Identifying similarities in DNA base sequences. So the correct option would be option D. Question number 3. Scientists discover a new species of animal. It has a segmented body with two pairs of legs on each segment. To which group of animals does this new species belong? So the species would belong to myriapods, as they have two pairs of legs on each segment of their body. So the correct option would be option D. Question number 4. In which part of a cell does photosynthesis take place? Option A. Vacuole, which is wrong. Option B. Nucleus, which is also wrong, as it stores DNA. Option C. Chloroplast, which is correct. Option D. Cytoplasm, which is also wrong. So the correct option would be option C. Question number 5. The diagram shows some of the blood vessels and other structures in the human body. The blood vessels shown are all part of the same. Option A says cell, which is wrong, as the diagram displays a heart, a kidney, and vessels. So option A would be wrong. Option B, organ, which is also wrong. Option C, organ system, which is correct. Option D, tissue, which is wrong. So the correct option would be option C. Question number 6. A photograph shows a plant cell nucleus measuring 2 millimeters across. If the magnification of the cell is 500, what is the actual size of the nucleus? So the magnification can be found as 2 divided 500, which would be 0.004 mm. So the correct option would be option B. Question number 7. By which process do oxygen and carbon dioxide move between cells and capillaries? So the process is called diffusion. The correct option would be option B. Question number 7. By which process do oxygen and carbon dioxide move between cells and capillaries? The process by which the molecules of oxygen and carbon dioxide move between capillaries and cells is called diffusion. So the correct option would be option B. Question number 8. Which process is involved in the uptake of glucose by the epithelial cells of the kidney tubules? The process would be active transport, as the glucose is moved against the concentration gradient. So the correct option would be option A. Question number 9. Which element is found in proteins but not in carbohydrates? So the elements found in carbohydrates are hydrogen, carbon, oxygen. The elements found in proteins are nitrogen, hydrogen, carbon, and oxygen. So the correct option would be option C. Question number 10. A DNA sample was tested to identify its bases. 35% of the bases in the DNA were G. Which row shows the percentages of the other bases? So if 35% were G, C would also be 35, and the rest would be 15 and 15 for A and T. So the correct option would be option B. Question number 11. Starch is digested by amylase in the mouth, but it is not digested in the stomach. What is the reason for this? The reason would be that the pH is too high in the stomach for amylase to survive. Option A says all starch digestion is completed in the mouth, which is wrong. Option B says the pH in the stomach is not suitable for the amylase to work, which seems correct. Option C says the starch does not stay in the stomach long enough to be digested, which is also wrong. Option D says the temperature in the stomach is not suitable for the amylase to work, which is wrong. So the correct option would be option B. Question number 12. Which type of molecule are enzymes made of? So enzymes are made of protein. The correct option would be option C. Question number 13. A plant with stripped leaves was kept in bright light for 6 hours. A leaf was taken from the plant and the chlorophyll was removed. The leaf was then tested for starch using iodine solution. Which diagram shows the result of the test? So the white strip would turn yellow-brown because the starch was not present, and the green strip would turn blue-black as the starch is present. So the correct option would be option A. Question number 14. The graph shows daily carbon dioxide uptake and transpiration by the plant Agave americana. The plant is adapted to live in very dry conditions. The graph shows CO2 uptake, time of the day, transpiration. What can be concluded from this graph? Option A says more stomata are closed during dark periods, which is wrong as the stomatas are open during the dark periods. Option B says more stomata are closed during light periods, which is correct. Option C says there is no carbon dioxide uptake during dark periods, which is wrong. Option D says there is no water uptake during light periods, which is also wrong. So the correct option would be option B. Question number 15. Statements 1 to 4 describe stages in the development of cholera. What is the correct sequence of the 4 stages? Statement 1 says chloride ions are excreted into the gut. Statement 2 says osmosis causes water to move into the gut. Statement 3 says the infected person becomes dehydrated. Statement 4 says toxins are produced by pathogenic bacteria. So we can arrange the statements by the order 1, 2, 3, and 4. So the correct option would be option C. Question number 16. What is the cause of the start of dental decay? Option A says acid dissolves dentine, which is wrong. Option B says acid dissolves enamel, which is correct. Option C says sugar dissolve dentine, which is wrong. Option D says sugars dissolve enamel, which is also wrong. So the correct option would be option B. Question number 17. The diagram shows one of the stomata of a leaf and some of the cells that are near it. During transpiration, what describes the movement of water at X and at Y? The diagram shows a mesophyll cell, guard cell, stomata at Y, and a cell surface at X. Movement at X would be evaporation. Movement at Y would be diffusion. So the correct option would be option A. Question number 18. A ring of phloem tissue was removed from the stem of a plant, as shown in the first diagram. Carbon dioxide containing radioactive carbon was supplied to the leaf of the plant. The second diagram shows where radioactive carbon was present after 3 hours. Diagram 1 has a clear bag area with phloem removed, carbon dioxide containing radioactive carbon. Diagram 2 has shaded and black areas show where radioactive carbon is present after 3 hours. Which statements does the experiment support? Statement 1 says translocation of sugar only occurs in one direction, which is wrong as The dark area is also shown at the tip of the root, tip of the plant. Statement 2 says translocation occurs in the phloem, which is correct. Statement 3 says translocation requires energy, which is wrong. So the correct option would be option C, true only. Question number 19. Through which blood vessels does blood flow into the heart? Option 1, pulmonary artery, which is wrong. Option 2, pulmonary vein, which is correct. Option 3, vena cava, which is correct. Option 4, aorta, which is wrong. So the correct option would be option C, 2 and 3. Question number 20. What is angioplasty? Angioplasty is the widening of a blood vessel. Option A says a recording of the heart's electrical activity to check for abnormalities, which is wrong. Option B says an operation to insert a new vessel that diverts blood around the narrowed section, which is wrong. Option C says the insection of a tube into a blood vessel to allow blood to flow more freely, which is wrong. Option D says the widening of a blood vessel by means of a balloon-like device, which is correct. So the correct option would be option D. Question number 21. A child is vaccinated against measles. After a period of time, child is infected with the measles virus. The graph shows the concentration of measles antibodies in the child's bloodstream during the time. X-axis shows time, Y-axis shows antibody concentration in the blood. Which statement is consistent with the information in the graph? Option A says, after the vaccination, the child produced memory cells, which seems correct. Option B says, the child had passive immunity against measles, which is wrong. Option C says, measles virus contains antibodies, which is also wrong. Option D says, the vaccination failed to protect the child against measles, which is wrong as the graph shows that the memory cells were produced. So the correct option would be option A. Question number 22. Which sequence of changes takes place when we breathe in? So the diaphragm contracts, the volume of the thorax increases, the pressure in the lung decreases. So the correct option would be option A. Question number 23. Which statement applies to respiration? Option A says it involves enzyme, which is correct as it involves enzyme for the transfer of molecules. Option B says energy is absorbed, which is wrong. Option C says it only takes place in animal cells, which is also wrong. Option D says oxygen is released, which is wrong. So the correct option would be option A. Question number 24. Which statement about respiration is correct? Option A. Deep breathing after exercise reduces an oxygen depth, which seems correct. Option B. Lactic acid produced by aerobic respiration causes an oxygen depth, which is wrong. Option C. The energy in ethanol molecules is released by muscle cells, which is also wrong. Option D. The energy in lactic acid is released by anaerobic respiration, which is also wrong. So the correct option would be option A. Question number 25. A student carried out an experiment to investigate the effect of temperature on the volume of urine produced. Which row shows the experiment where the environmental temperature was increased from 20 degrees Celsius to 40 degrees Celsius, but no other changes were made? So if the temperature is doubled, the urine production would reduce by half because more water is required to control the temperature of the body. So the correct option would be option B, before 80, after 40. Question number 26. Which row shows the levels of organization for structures associated with the eye? The cell would be the rod, tissue, retina, organ, eye, organ system, nervous. So the correct option would be option B. Question number 27. Which row correctly compares hormonal control with nervous control? Speed of action of hormonal control, how long the effect of hormone lasts. So if it would be slow, the effects would be longer. The correct option would be option B. Question number 28. Which statement about the regulation of human body temperature is correct? Option A says vasoconstriction of skin arterioles occurs when the body temperature is too low, which seems correct. Option B says vasodilation of skin arterioles occurs when the body temperature is too low, which is wrong. Option C says vasoconstriction of skin capillaries occurs when the body temperature is too high, which is also wrong. Option D says vasodilation of skin capillaries occurs when the body temperature is too low, which is also wrong. So the correct option would be option A. Question number 29. Why are people advised not to drive a car after drinking an excessive quantity of alcohol? Option A says alcohol is a depressant, which is correct. Option B says alcohol is a stimulant, which is wrong. Option C says alcohol decreases reaction time, which is also not the case. Option D says alcohol is addictive, which is not related to this question. So the correct option would be option A. Question number 30. What is a disadvantage of asexual reproduction when a new crop disease appears on a farm? Option A says asexual reproduction only requires one parent plant, which is wrong. Option B. Asexual reproduction does not require a pollinator, which is also wrong. Option C says asexual reproduction does not lead to genetic variation of offspring, which is correct. Option D says asexual reproduction does not disperse offspring over a wide area, which is wrong. So the correct option would be option C. Question number 31. Where is progesterone produced in the late stages of pregnancy? It is produced in the placenta, so the correct option would be option C. Question number 32. The diagram shows structures involved in the synthesis of an enzyme in a cell. What is structure 2? So structure 2 is an mRNA. The correct option would be option C. Question number 33. Which definition of mitosis is correct? Option A says nuclear division giving rise to genetically different cells, which is wrong. Option B says nuclear division giving rise to genetically identical cells, which is correct. Option C says fusion of nuclei giving rise to genetically different cells, which is also wrong. Option D says fusion of nuclei giving rise to genetically identical cells, which is wrong. So the correct option would be option B. Question number 34. What happens during meiosis? Option A. A haploid cell produces haploid cells that are genetically identical, which is wrong. Option B. A haploid cell produces haploid cells that are genetically different, which is also wrong, as a haploid cell cannot produce a haploid cell that is genetically different. Option C. A diploid cell produces haploid cells that are genetically identical, which is also wrong. Option D. A diploid cell produces haploid cells that are genetically different, which is correct. So the correct option would be option D. Question number 35. What is a correct description of gene mutation? Option A. A duplicate copy of DNA, which is wrong. Option B. A change in the base sequence of DNA, which is correct. Option C. An increase in the number of chromosomes, which is wrong. Option D. a phenotypic variation, which is also wrong. So the correct option would be option B. Question number 36. Adaptive features are inherited features that increase fitness. What is the definition of fitness? Option A. Artificial selection to improve organisms, which is wrong. Option B. The change in adaptive features of a population over time, which is also wrong. Option C. The probability of an organism surviving and reproducing in the environment in which it is found, which is correct. Option D says the probability of variation in a population, which is wrong. So the correct option would be option C. Question number 37. The diagram shows energy transfer through a food chain. The labeled arrows represent the energy transfer. So W would be light energy, X would be heat, Y would be chemical, X would also be chemical. The question says which energy transfers are shown by the labeled arrow. Option A says X is heat energy transfer and Z is chemical energy transfer, which is correct. Option B says Y is chemical energy transfer and X is light energy transfer, which is wrong. Option C says X is chemical energy transfer and Y is heat energy transfer, which is wrong. Option D says Z is heat energy transfer and W is light energy transfer. The first part is wrong, so the correct option would be option A. Question number 38. The organisms in a food chain can be represented by pyramids of numbers or pyramids of biomass. Which diagram represents a pyramid of numbers? Option A does not represent the pyramid of number, as the green fly are less than the rose bush. Option B represents the pyramids of number. Option C does not represent it, as aphid are less than the elder tree. Option D also does not represent the pyramids of number. So the correct option would be option B. Question number 29. Scientists wanted to know which one of four different varieties of bacteria A, B, C or D would be the best to use to make a protein. They grew the bacteria for 5 days using the same starting mass of each bacterium. They then measured the mass of bacteria and the mass of protein produced per gram of bacteria. The results are shown in the table. Which variety of bacteria should the scientists choose? So the mass should also be high and the protein should also be high. The options could be options A and C, but the mass of bacteria is very low, actually half than in A, so the correct option would be option A. Question number 40. The graph shows the annual deforestation of and annual net release of carbon dioxide from an area of tropical forest between 1990 and 2001. The y-axis shows annual deforestation and annual net release of carbon dioxide. X-axis shows the year. Which statements are correct? Statement 1 says the highest rate of deforestation occurred in 1995. So it is correct, as in 1995 the graph is at peak. Option 2 says there is a close relationship between annual deforestation and carbon dioxide release, which is correct. Option 3 says the annual net increase of carbon dioxide increases every year, which is wrong as it also decreases couple of times. So the correct option would be option A, 1 and 2. Thank you for watching the video. Please like, share and subscribe.